We live? All right, we're live, everyone. Welcome back to yet another episode of the ARCA Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Colby Evans, aka Starting Park Car. And wow, did we have a wild one in Dover. These Dover ARCA races are usually quite chaotic, from the high closing speeds to the outrageous speeds in general that these cars are translating compared to the actual Cup cars and Xfinity cars. I thought it was a fun race. We're going to go over all of that. Dover was a wild one. We're also going to be previewing Kansas, my return to the racetrack this weekend for the first time since Daytona. I am so excited to finally get back into the ARCA Menard Series garage with all my friends again. Helping out Brad Smith. Be going over all those duties when we get to the Kansas portion of the show. But yeah, fun little show for you guys today. I'm not sure how long we're going to be here, but hope you guys will tune in for the duration. So we're going to go through my little intro, and then I'll go through and then we'll start off with Dover. All right. So you guys know the drill. Follow me on social media, Starting Park Car on Twitter for all live ARCA tweets, NASCAR tweets, all that occasional crap you guys for some reason love to tweet. Like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell for notifications so you guys never miss a podcast when I go live. We are just over 200 subscribers away from 2,000 subs. So if you like what you see here, just please hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button too. It helps get the video out there. Super chats are open if you'd like to financially support the channel and go straight into my racing career. That's for sure. Super chats are open if you'd like to join. And of course, check out the Racing Experts for all NASCAR media related content, the official media partner of this podcast. So let's get right into it, shall we? Dover, one of the more intimidating tracks on the circuit, from the high speeds to the literal drop-offs into the corner and back up off a hill into the corner. It's a very driver-fun track. A lot of drivers, pretty much anyone I've ever talked to who's ever ran Dover before, has it on. It might not be the best track racing-wise. It can be always 50-50 on the racing product, but I've rarely ever heard a driver say that they've not had a fun time at Dover. And it looks like a fun track to drive. It looks like an intimidating track to drive because you have to keep the speed up. With this past weekend's race, this was actually the first time that the ARCA Menard Series main division ran here. We had primarily had ARCA East fields. And let me tell you guys, there were some dark times, man. I mean, this used to be a East primary event, and, we had to be honest the last couple of years. We only had about 4 or 5 competitive cars in our 15-car fields. And then the racing, it wasn't bad, but there was just not enough cars to do anything with it, if that makes sense. And that just kind of became the common theme with the Dover East race. And for the longest time, people like myself and other people just said, merge it to make it a combo series race. Even going back to the K&N days. 2017, 18, and 19 from the K&N series days had, less than 20 cars. 2019 had 14. The ARCA East races that we had 2020 had 18, 2021 had 18, 2022 and 2023 only had 15. So, like I said, merging the race with the main series was definitely the best option. And on the initial entry list, we had 26 cars. Now, while that's still not a huge field, having those 10 extra bodies out there compared to a 15-car race means so much more for the race itself. It gives the race more life. It gives everybody on track more to do, if that makes sense. Unfortunately, though, we did have a couple of cars withdraw. It's 2 of the lifebloods of the series. Dale Shear, we'll start off with him. Was kind of confused on why. We didn't really get any information as to why. We didn't get any inkling that Dale Shear was going to withdraw. We didn't have any inkling. Oh, yeah, and I forgot to mention, they actually extended the race by 25 laps. It used to be called the General Tire 125. They actually extended it 25 laps, probably to accommodate the main series, which is a little detail that I appreciate. It is a main series race, so it should be longer than 125. I like the addition of making it 150. But going back to Dale Shear, he actually revealed on his Facebook, unfortunately, poor Dale Shear, man. The guy, he was supposed to go to Pensacola. He was en route to Pensacola, and unfortunately, his truck broke down. And then as he was loading the car for Dover, I'm not going to go into exactly what it was, but he suffered a back injury, and unfortunately, he just couldn't make the trip to Dover. He was too hurt. I don't blame him. With the loads that Dover physically puts on your body, and at Dale's age, because Dale's not. I love Dale Shear, but he ain't no spring chicken anymore. He's getting up there in age. He can't take that on his back, especially when it's potentially hurt. So, unfortunately, he had to make what, in my opinion, was the smart decision to withdraw because we don't want to see anybody get hurt. And boy, this one hurts. Brad Smith, man. It's, you talk about terrible luck next to Dale Shear. Brad Smith, man. I mean, he blew his good motor at Daytona. He had to borrow a car for Phoenix, only to DNQ anyway. Talladega went fine, but then on the ride home, they had travel issues getting home. The truck broke down, managed to make it home. And as he was en route to Dover, the truck broke down again. And unfortunately, Brad had to make the tough decision. Do you try to keep going to Dover with a damaged truck, or do you limp it back home? And unfortunately, Brad had to limp it back home. And the sad part is that by virtue of not even making a practice lap, my hope is that it does not take Brad off of his Golden A status in the series, but unfortunately, it looks like that might be the case. Now, Golden A status is a bonus plan that the ARCA Menard Series has for its full-time teams. They get bonus money for every race, and they get a big bonus at the end of the year for running all 20 races. That's why, for you guys who wonder, why does Brad show up to the road courses and literally run one lap? That's why. He has to show up to those races to get the bonus money. I can't exactly reveal how much it is, but that's kind of how it goes. It's a bonus plan, bonus money. I think Brad was also going to do the East Series as well full-time to get that bonus money as well. So it's just, it really has just gone up in smoke for poor Brad Smith and Dale Shear, and I hate it. They'll be back. He's going to be in Kansas. I'm not sure how many races he's going to be running the rest of the year if he is off the bonus plan money, but unfortunately, those were two withdrawals. We still had 24 cars, which still wasn't bad, but I'm not sure how many laps they would have lasted. I don't think Dale would have been the full race. I don't think Brad would have been the full race. The closing speeds would have been way too fast. I think they probably would have gotten black flagged. To be honest with you, I think they probably would have gotten black flagged. I'm not sure if they would have completed the whole race just because of how fast those top cars were going around Dover. It was amazing. So we get to the day itself, 24 cars. We get to practice. The entry list did have some oddball entries in here, obviously, with the East and Main Series combined. We did have our East regulars mixed in with the Main Series regulars, such as D.L. Wilson, Gio Rogero, William Sawalich. Even though they're regulars in the main division, they're full-time East guys. Connor Zilisch. See here, we had Tanner Rive, not really an East guy, but Tanner Rive was an oddball entry. We also had the 82, a second Pinnacle entry with Carson Quapple. I think that was it. We had Marco entered, and then, of course, like I said, D.L. Wilson. So, yeah. So 23 cars took a practice lap. The only car to not make a practice lap or a qualifying lap was the 31 of Rita Goulet. We'll get to her in a second. The disparity in speeds, man, is definitely one thing that's talked about in ARCA. It's nothing new. We know about it. But, man, it's really shown at a track like Dover. It really just goes to show you, man, with these top teams in ARCA versus the lower budget teams, how much more of a setup they really can offer for a track like Dover. The ARCA cars, if I recall correctly, were actually the fastest cars for the whole weekend. I think the ARCA cars were actually going faster than the Xfinity cars and the Cup cars. William Sawalich's fastest lap in practice, I believe, was the fastest lap turned. Can someone correct me on that? But I think William Sawalich actually ran the fastest lap of the weekend. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it was fast. Just to show you some disparity, we had the top three, 160, 159, and 159. And you had Alex Clubb at 125, Michael Maples at 130, and Zachary Tinkle. He had motor issues, only at 139. Now, again, that was just practice. They would go, obviously, a little bit harder in the race, but definitely shows you the disparity between the teams. Now, obviously, that's because, you got the top teams, top money, aggressive setups. Whereas, the teams at the bottom, they're trying to go aggressive, but trying to play comfortable and work with what they got. Unfortunately, at a track like Dover, it's just much more noticeable. It's just much more noticeable. And that sucks. It's nothing against the other teams. It's not trying to throw a dig at them. It's just the truth. Especially for the teams who are running SB2s in this race. If I'm correct, I believe it was the 06, the 11. I think it was the 06 and the 11 and the 31 that were running SB2s. The 03 was running a K&N motor. They don't have a horsepower disadvantage. They're just a different motor. And I think everyone else was Ilmore. So, you obviously saw the 06, the 11. They went up probably as fast as they could. I'm sure Zachary could have went a lot faster. They said that they were having motor issues. But like Dennison ran a 25:01. That's probably as fast as he could have went. Because when you have a 100 horsepower penalty, and I feel like people really need to take that into account. We saw how many times Cody, so-called was in the way. Well, I mean, the closing right there is so high because the guys, even on fresh tires and setup-wise, the guy's got 100 less horsepower. Of course, they're going to fly around him. And that's why I feel like maybe ARCA should make an exception, or at least not make the horsepower penalty so severe for tracks like Dover, because then you get stuff like this where, those top guys are just absolutely hauling ass around Cody, and he's just trying to do his best. And that goes for all the other lap cars that we had issues with. But yeah, so Sawalich won practice. Cruz was second. Gio was third. It was clear, like I said, like usual, it was going to be the 18 that was going to be tough to beat. But I mean, we're just kind of used to that by now. It's the nature of the things. So qualifying comes. Sawalich obviously on the pole, went even faster, a 22.24 in an ARCA car. That is absolutely hauling ass around Dover, man. That is impressive for an ARCA car. That is absolutely hauling the mail around Dover. He won the pole by almost 0.2 of a second over Brent Cruz. Gio was third. Carson Quappel was fourth. LeVar Scott was fifth. Connor Zilisch in sixth. Andres Perez seventh. Chris Wright eighth. Tony Breidinger ninth. And Marco Andretti was 10th. Obviously, 23 of the 24 cars took a lap. For some reason, wasn't quite sure what exactly was going on with the 31, but they did not make a practice run or a qualifying run. So I was really curious on what ARCA was going to make them do. Usually, sometimes in that instance, they force you to start and park. That happened to Brad. I think that happened to Alex Clubb once. That happened to Brad one time when I think I was working with him. We were forced to start and park, unfortunately. So I'm not quite sure what the rules were. But apparently, so the 31 took the green flag with Rita. We'll just kind of skip ahead. But the 31 took the green flag with Rita. She immediately brought it in, went behind the wall. Tim got in the car. We'll talk more about that in a second. So we get to the race. Here, and it's Sawalich and Brent Cruz, two hot young prospects. Brent Cruz obviously just coming off. I believe it was just last weekend, not like a couple days ago, but the weekend before, where Brent actually won a Cars Tour race. So, look out for Brent Cruz as well. He's definitely a top young prospect in the series. But yeah, one lap in, and the disparity between the fast cars and the slower cars already became prevalent. Like, they were already like almost half a lap behind after like 2 or 3 laps. So Sawalich gets the early lead. Gio and Brent were battling hard for second, and it just kind of stabilized early, but hard battle. Lots of hard battling through the field, but it was still clear right out of the gate, man, that the 18 was going to be tough to beat. But like we have seen a lot of this season, we saw it at Phoenix, and we saw it at Pensacola. That's the name. The 18 has great fire-off speed, and I think that's really where the advantage with that car is. I wonder, that's one thing that Venturini has never really been able to match the 18 with. And I've noticed that for many years now. The 18 always has had better fire-off speed. Very rarely does the 18 car not have the best fire-off speed and has the Venturini car beaten them. And the 18 fired off like a rocket ship. But what did Gio do? He just ran him down, and he just flat out passed him. He did a little contact, but that's how Dover works. And Gio took the lead. Gio actually took the lead and pulled away to kind of the same margin they were at Pensacola, about a second or two, nothing really serious. And again, we're 20 laps in, so there's no reason for Sawalich to push it. We got a race break coming eventually, so it's like, it's not necessarily a big deal if Sawalich loses the lead. He knows there's a guaranteed yellow coming, or there's probably going to be cautions in general anyway. So yeah, the 31 at this point is behind the wall. We did have a start and park. Mike Basham in the 12. That was a planned start and park. A couple laps into the race, Tanner Reif, his race was pretty much over before it started. Literally like 4 or 5 laps into the race, he bounces off the outside wall in 3 and 4 and absolutely destroys the right side of his car. He would be on and off pit road until he finally rejoined the race comfortably. He was about 14 laps down when he rejoined the race comfortably. So his debut of 2024 certainly did not go the way he wanted. But nonetheless, you have to get him out there because it was his first time at Dover, and laps are laps. So that was kind of an update on the back of the field. Meanwhile, though, they were catching the back markers fast. And I mean fast. They caught a lot of the Hillenberg cars, the Peterson entry, the second Costner entry. They were catching them pretty fast. They were catching, like I said, throwing club there. They were catching them pretty fast. But again, it's like these guys are going as fast as they can go in some way, shape, or form. But it's like with Bristol. Once you're getting lapped, there's nowhere to hide. Same thing with Dover, man. Like the closing rates are so fast, there's just nowhere to hide. Now you can make the argument, well, then they shouldn't be out there. Well, you can make that argument, but I'll make the argument at the same time. ARCA is not doing them any favors by giving them that horsepower penalty. I'm not saying that the 06 magically or the 06 or the 11 magically had 100 horsepower that they would be with the leaders. I'm not saying that. But goddamn, they wouldn't be as slow as they were. I mean, that's pretty much true. They wouldn't be as slow as they were if they had that extra horsepower. So, I don't know. But we get to lap 20. We get to lap 21. Gio passes Amber. And literally, we had one of the bigger moments of the race, how Gio took the lead. So, Sawalich comes up on the 35 of Greg Van Elst, who is also coming up on the 06 of Cody Dennison. Now, he said on radio, he had no radio. He had no radio right here. So, Dennison, he's not holding his line. No radio, so he's got no spotter to tell him. He goes high, blocks the 18. 20 goes by. They both make contact with him. Both the 20 and the 18 bounce off of him. The 35 just backs way off. And Gio just rockets to the lead. And the 18 loses. Like I said, he lost like 2 seconds. And I think that was voted like one of the Reese's sweet moves of the race. It was definitely one of the more creative ways that Gio took the lead. But I think he was going to catch him regardless. He had definitely caught up to the 18 before that incident. He probably would have I don't know if he would have passed him, but he was definitely catching him. Now, it was not, according to Dennison on his live stream last night, he also was having right front tire issues. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, man. From what Dennison said in that 06, he was battling all kinds of issues in that first stage. So kind of a miracle that he did make it out of there in one piece, but I'm glad he did. So the race continued on. There was no caution for that. However, we did get a couple of cautions later. The 31 car actually then appeared on track. Would only run a couple of laps before spinning out with the number 11 of Zachary Tinkle. The 31 was running such a low line coming into turn 1. Now, obviously, I think that was Tim Goulet was in the car at the time. I think that was only like his 3rd or 4th lap on the track. And when you enter in at Dover at such a low angle, that car was going to push up. It was going to push up real bad. And he slid right into the 11 and he spun himself around. Now, thankfully, he didn't hit anything this time. Got the car back going again, but that did count for our first caution of the race. It was kind of a calm down, I mean, for as much chaos, as that first 20-lap session was, we were finally able to, calm down a little bit. we were finally able to calm down a little bit. So we restarted right there. 31 did still take the green again, and Gio actually kept the lead. Gio kept the lead on the restart, so it was clear, man. Once the 20 could get out front, he could stay there. He could definitely stay there, just like it was at Pensacola. The 18, he could get to him, but he had trouble passing him. And that's one thing we talked about earlier this year, man. I think Gio really, really will bring it to the 18 this year, and so far we're seeing that. So in the 17 lap run, nothing really changed. Gio led until the break. The 31 was still on track by this point, so everyone, I don't think anything changed. Anything changed. I think it was just kind of a let's get to the break kind of run. During this break, though, unfortunately for Brent Cruz, he just did not go on the start, literally did not go on the restart. Was it ever really diagnosed what the problem was? Does anyone in the chat know exactly what the problem was? Was it a gear issue? Was it was it stuck in gear? Because the car was running, but it didn't go. It did not go at all. But anyone in the chat, does anyone know what exactly the problem was in the 55? I'm not sure if the broadcast ever mentioned it, and I don't think Brent ever brought it up. But it sucks because that took out one of our competitive cars. I mean, he still ran on track, but he wasn't running for the win, you know. But it had to have been something with the transmission, something like that. Either way, that sucks because, you know, a car like second place, honestly, you could say with how the race turned out, had Brent Cruz not had these issues, he probably could have won the race. Like, no joke. Once again, the lap cars were definitely, once again, a factor. Carson Kvapil was absolutely hauling ass. He was the clear third best car in the race. It was clear that the 82 at this point, early stages in the race, was the third best car. I mean, Carson was just unbelievable, man. And obviously, this was a smart idea for Pinnacle Racing. He was actually in the Xfinity race the next day, nearly won it. And this race was a great idea for him to get some extra experience because Xfinity only gets freaking 20 minutes. So giving him this long day in ARCA really helped get some track time. So he was doing well in third. And like I said, they were just kind of riding. I think everybody knew the break was coming in 5 laps. We did have some more moments, though. Poor Gio just kind of, you know, the 31 was being passed by the 39, and he narrowly shot the gap, man. And I mean narrowly shot the gap. And then coming to a couple laps to go again, it's like Dennison and Van Alst could not get away from each other. And then once again, Sawalich caught him at a bad time. And it's weird. You could tell that the 82 was faster. You could tell. But the lap cars were just, it seemed like they would always just keep lap cars at the worst time. They always would get them at the worst time. So they just couldn't, he couldn't make a move. Every time he would try to go make a move, there's a lap car, you know, and then he would maybe get side by side, and then the 20 would use him as a pick. So it's like, in a way, man, lap traffic was definitely going to be a play. If you could use the lap traffic to an advantage, you were going to keep your position. We made it to the lap 50 break. Who got the free pass that break? It's like the 32. They were lapping cars like crazy. I mean, Chris Wright had gone a lap down in that first run. Christian Rose had gone a lap down in that first run. They were really, really lapping cars here. Van Alst had gone a couple laps down. Koster had gone many laps down. Jankowiak, I think Jankowiak managed to stay on the lead lap. Breidinger had went laps down. Obviously, Brent Cruz had went laps down. He would rejoin the race. He would rejoin the race 19 laps down because, again, track time is important. So they got him back out there. So we restarted the second stage, and this is kind of where the chaos picked up. Second stage was really the second stage was really where we had our most chaos. Not 5 laps into the second stage, still not 100% clear on what happened to him. But the 31 only a couple laps in, hit the wall in turn 1. Not quite sure what happened, if he blew a tire or not. The tire looked up, but boy, tough day for the 31 team, Rise Motorsports. Heavily damaged right side, but according to their Twitter, man, Brayton Laster is supposed to drive the 31 this weekend. They got a new side already on the car, new bracing. It's going to be ready. They're going to be participating in Friday's test, so they should be fine. for Kansas, but obviously that had to suck for the Goulets. No practice laps, no qualifying laps, and just about everything that could have went wrong in the race went wrong. So sucks for them. During those couple laps of green, though, William Sawalich, again, I talked about it before, the takeoff speed of that 18 is just unbelievable compared to the other cars. And he used that to his advantage. He managed to stay to the outside of Gio and would eventually take the lead. Qualpole was up to third. LeVar Scott really showed a lot of muscle in this thing, running third and fourth. Way more than Andres in this race. This was one of the big shine races for LeVar, for sure. During this run, though, Amber Balkan, she pancaked the wall. Surprisingly, didn't blow a tire. Things would get, unfortunately, worse for Amber. We'll get to that in a second. But a lot of cars would pancake the wall. Kind of a meaningless caution, though. Like I said, 31 was done for the day. I think at this point we still had 22 of our 24 starters on the track. We still had a pretty hefty car count. And then, like I said, this is where the chaos started to happen. Sawalich continued to lead until lap 74 when we had one of the worst ARCA crashes that I'd probably say this is going to go up there as one of the worst crashes of 2024. Not even compared to what we saw at Daytona. You know, Daytona's Daytona. You got to eliminate that. So William Sawalich led. Again, not much. William Sawalich led. Gio Ruggiero managed to take the lead. We got back going green again. And then only a couple laps later, it was deemed that the 20 had taken the lead, but it didn't quite look to me that he jumped the start. I don't know how you guys felt for the people who watched it live. Did it look like the 20 did anything wrong? I mean, it wasn't as blatant when Denny Hamlin clearly jumped the start. I mean, Gio, he was right there with the 18 in the restart box. I understand he kind of was ahead of him. But I don't know. I didn't really think it warranted a penalty, but nonetheless, the 20 had to serve a penalty for a restart violation. Unfortunately, fortunately, right as he was about to serve the penalty, we had an awful crash between Christian Rose and Amber Balkan. The sad part is it really wasn't both of them. It was two separate incidents mixed together. Christian Rose, I believe he had a right front tire failure coming up at turn 4 and just an awful hit. I mean, God, awful hit. I mean, thank God for safer barriers, you know, but an awful, awful hit. Very rarely do you see a right front tire hit where the car catches on fire. And then poor Amber Balkan, she did nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything she could have done different. You know, we know how hard the closing speeds. She's hauling ass off of turn 4. And you see probably a 50 mile per hour difference. What do? She turns the wheel left. And unfortunately with Dover, the wall's right there. And oh God, you guys, I'm sure you guys have seen the replay. She avoids the 32, but unfortunately in avoiding the 32, absolutely just slams the inside wall. It actually got air with the rear tires. Absolutely destroyed the front of that car. And you know, for as much as we rag on Amber Balkan sometimes, this one was not her fault. Like, I legit felt bad for her. For all the times we have, you know, ragged on her in the past, this one was not her fault. She was just trying to avoid the crash. And poor Amber just slams the wall, man. I felt so bad for her. One of the few times she did nothing wrong, and it's just... And the sad part was, you know, she needed help getting out. She was limping, and it's like, ugh. You hate to see anybody get injured. You know, and it's just in a hit like that, at that, you know, with those G-forces at once, I'm not sure if the average driver, like, you know, if there was another driver in that car, I'm not sure they wouldn't have gotten hurt too. I think the hit that she took, I don't think anybody would have walked out of that incident not hurt, unfortunately. So Christian Rose, he was slow to get out. No doubt that crash knocked the air out of him. Wouldn't shock me. That crash clearly knocked the air out of him. Amber Balkan was limping. Now, she did actually get interviewed later. Her foot was all wrapped up. Her foot was all wrapped up, but she did get interviewed. She was smiling, which is the most important thing, was that Amber was smiling despite her foot being all wrapped up. So that was the most important thing, that although her foot was wrapped up, she appeared to be happy. I mean, she's always got a smile on her face, pretty much. I mean, very rarely do you see Amber not smiling, but she appeared to be in good spirits, didn't appear to be in horrible pain. But realistically, I've watched the incident a couple times. I don't think there's anything Amber could have done different. The closing rate that she had on that 32 car, I'm not sure what else she could have done. It was either avoid him and go left and hit the wall, or slam right into the back of the 32, and probably would have caused a massive fireball with the ruptured fuel tank. Personally, it's just hard to tell. But I don't think there's any other thing she could have done different. That's what I'm just trying to make a point. She was in a lose-lose situation. We'll go with that term. Hit the 32 or spin out and hit the wall. It was a lose-lose situation for Amber Balcaen. I think anybody in that situation, the car that was coming up on the 32, no matter who it was going to be in a lose-lose situation and was going to be involved in that crash. It just happened to be Amber Balcaen. So that sucks. That sucked. But yeah, thankfully, from what it appears, we did get some updates from her today. Bob Pockris talked with her. I'm actually going to read off her tweets right now. I'm looking at them right now. Bob Pockris reported that he had talked with Amber Balcaen, and she has a non-displaced fracture in her left foot, third metatarsal. Her doctors have cleared her to race ARCA at Kansas. She will have a carbon fiber plate in her left shoe for support. She'll have a shoe/plate for simulator session on Thursday to prepare. Speaking with Pockris, Balcaen said, "Not much the brake, just clutch for her left foot at Kansas." Balcaen would say, "I look at this as an opportunity to showcase my resilience and my strength. This is a track that I feel comfortable at. I feel good. Definitely not 100%. We're going to do what we can." And then Balcaen would go on to say herself on her Twitter account, or her X account, still call it Twitter, saying, "Despite injuries to my left foot, NASCAR has cleared me to race at Kansas this weekend. Thank you for everyone at Toyota Racing for getting me ready. Very grateful to get back behind the wheel of our icon direct number 22 car. Let's go." So obviously good news there. We never like to see a driver miss a race. Not really sure what they would have done if they had to find a backup driver. So I'm glad that's not the case. I'm glad they don't have to worry about that. And that is true with the way that the ARCA cars now are at Kansas, with the horsepower, with the lower horsepower compared to years past. They really don't use a lot of brake at Kansas, or a lot of their left foot at Kansas, to be honest with you. They don't. So I think she will be fine. I mean, I pretty much, just probably clutch. Maybe just a tad little bit of braking coming down pit road maybe. But yeah, realistically, if it was her right foot, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But since it's her left foot, yes, I think she'll be okay. And I hope she'll be okay. Just kind of get through this weekend and heal up for the next race. And I think the next one is Charlotte in a couple weeks. But so yeah, well wishes to Amber Balcaen for a speedy recovery, because man, that was ugly crash. Probably, like I said, probably one of the worst non-super speedway crashes we have seen in ARCA in a long time. And it just goes to show you, man, these cars, racing is dangerous, man. Racing is dangerous, even in these lower leagues, for sure. So, but we got the accident cleaned up. They did red flag the race just to make sure that all the fluid was cleaned up and everything was, everyone was safely moved off the track. We got back going green again. Like I said, it was a lucky break for Gio, because he didn't have to make his stop under green, so he was able to stay on the lead lap. Did have to go to the back, however, although when you really think about it, the back of the field was what? 16th place, 17th place by then. So he really wasn't at the back of the field, and quickly made his way back through the field. So taking out the 42. The 42 eventually did park with clutch issues. And then you take out the 22 and the 32. We were left with 19 cars on track as we went back to green on lap 98, or on lap 80, I should say, sorry. Sawalich again pulled out to a huge lead. It was clear that during this run, the 82 of Koppel, his inexperience on restarts definitely showed. The 18 got way too far out front, and the 28 of Zilisch, they were kind of just battling for second, and it allowed the 18 to pull away nicely. It was definitely clear, though, that the Pinnacle cars had something. They had something there. And then we had our huge lap. I call it the funniest lap car moment of the race. So they're coming off of turn 2, okay? Carson Quaffle has managed to run down the 18. And it's the same thing that I was saying earlier with the 20 car. He's faster than the 18. He caught him. But these lap cars, man, it's just like every time he would try to set up a pass, every time Carson would try to set up a pass, something would come along. And this time it was poor Cody Dennison again. I felt like he just kept finding himself at the wrong place at the wrong time. And DL Wilson, coming off a turn 2 on lap 89, William Sawalich shoots to the outside from Dennison, who was holding him up off the corner. And DL Wilson, he goes low because he's trying to stay out of the way. Wilson was not trying to cause a crash here. Neither was Dennison. I'll get that clear. Dennison nor Wilson were not trying to cause any trouble. Again, Dennison trying to hold his line, trying to stay out of the way. Wilson trying to hold his line, trying to stay out of the way. I'm sure the 39 was herd leaders. So your first instinct is to go to the bottom. I don't think the 39 realized, however, though, that the 82 was trying to get around him as well. So he goes low. Well, the 82 has got to go even lower. So for a brief second, we had 4 wide at Dover. And thank God that did not go wrong. Somehow we made it past that. But, man, I'm like, wow. That was kind of a dangerous moment right there. But somehow we made it through that. Sawalich kept the lead. Poor Carson Quaffle. He had caught the 18, but then he got held behind the 39 for what felt like almost 2 laps. So he went from being behind him by about half a second, to about 2 seconds behind. And on the onboard footage, it looks like that the 06 and the 39 are battling, and the 18 goes around the 39. Yes, the 18 goes around the 39, but right in his lane ahead of him is the 06. And coming off the corner at Dover, it's not like you can just get out of the way. It's not like there really was not much Cody could do in that situation. So Sawalich rightfully rode behind him. Once they got in the straightaway, he went to the outside. And then, like I said, we had that whole situation with 4 wide. It was absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So somehow we made it through all that. I don't know how we did. But again, it's just kind of a situation where I'm not really sure what anyone else could have done. I don't know. I mean, D.L. Wilson was trying to get out of the way, and Cody, you could say, well, it was his first race at Dover. Sometimes you got to cut the guy a break. But yeah, that was probably the biggest moment for me with the lap cars. I'm like, whoa, wow, we made it through. Not a couple laps later, we had Marco Andretti. He brought out the yellow. He brought out the yellow for a stalled car on track. And boy, I'll tell you, I don't know what happened to Bruce. I love Bruce Cook. I love Bruce Cook's team. Got a lot of good people over there. But man, Marco I wonder if it's Mark. Is it Marco or is it the team? Bruce Cook's team I don't know. They haven't really felt as strong as they have in the past. I don't know. Maybe it's just Marco getting used to stock cars and these bigger tracks. But man, Marco was definitely not as competitive. He hasn't been as competitive overall this year as I thought he would be. In terms of the tracks outside of Daytona, he really wasn't all that competitive. Did he run Phoenix? I forgot. Did he run Phoenix? I thought he did. But he wasn't all that competitive in this race at all. I don't know if I attribute that to him. He did run Phoenix. He wasn't all that competitive at Phoenix, and he wasn't all that competitive here. Now, I know he still doesn't have a lot of experience, necessarily a lot of experience in the ARCA car, but I don't know. I just figured Mark would be just a little bit more competitive than that. Just my observation, not trying to throw any shade at anyone. I mean that. But I just figured Mark would be just a tad bit more competitive. But nonetheless, he fell out of the race. Alex Clubb, he'd been in and out of the garage. I don't quite remember what happened to him. He was on and off pit road in the garage area multiple times. Not quite sure what happened. Might try to look up. I don't have time to look up the club account, but needless to say, they were having mechanical problems until an eventual electrical issue put him out of the race. With about 20 laps to go, he was about 30 laps down at the time that he finally pulled off. So let's see here. He finally ran a quick 4-lap break for the 101 lap break. And we finally had, in my opinion, one of the biggest moments of the race. We got back going green again. By this point, Gio is already back into the top 5 due to the multiple cautions we've had. So he's right back in this thing. We have our debris yellow. We get back going green again. It is the 18 and the 28. I believe is it the 18 and the 28? The 18 and the 28. We nearly had an incident, though, between the 82 and the 6. Carson Quaffle got the right rear of his fender ripped away. But luckily, it also saved him because that piece of debris landed on track, bringing up the yellow. And during the caution break, because it counted as the second break, in my opinion, one of the greatest things to ever come out of ARCA in the last 10 years. They used the freaking pit sign. A pit sign as repair for the 82's right rear. 10 out of 10 creativity by that team. Because at Dover, you need all that downforce on the side. You can't have that hole. So that is 100% thinking by that team. Because at the end of the day, if you need a pit sign, you'll just go to the 28 team and borrow theirs. And just turn it upside down. I don't know. But yeah, they taped right over the pit sign. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They used a freaking pit sign to repair the car. I love it. Absolutely love it. So, I love that. That's ARCA, man. You don't see that in NASCAR. Only in ARCA. That's why I love this series, man. So they repair his car. He doesn't even lose a lap. Carson doesn't even lose a lap, and it really didn't even look like it affected the car all that much at all either. Still a very fast car. But then we had our big moment of the race. Literally the next restart. It was the 28 and the 18. The 28 got a great launch, probably the best launch Connor has gotten this entire year. Was able to stay next to the 18 as they were going into turn 3. But unfortunately, a classic rookie mistake. The 28 got too hot into turn 3, got into the 18, and William Sawalich crashes out of the ARCA race at Dover. A very huge blow for him. Very, very huge blow in terms of the ARCA East Championship and both the main series and East Series Owners Championships. Really, really tough break here. Obviously, the 28 did not mean to do it on purpose, and I'm sure William knows that. He did not mean to do it on purpose. It was just a rookie mistake. Got into the corner too hard. And, like I said, just wrecked him. I mean, it's like it wasn't on purpose, but, it was a mistake. That's all you can say. Sawalich, he would end up 17th, whereas his E-Series competitors, spoiler alert, would finish 1 and 2. So a big points loss for William Sawalich. And for the E-Series championship, I don't know, guys, being that far behind, I almost would say that could cost him the championship, almost. So the race got going green again with 33 laps to go. I think by this point, let's see, we had lost the 03, we had lost the 18. The 55 had pulled back off because, you weren't going to gain any more positions. So, no need to stay out there anymore. So they've only about 15, 16 cars left on track. We still weren't done, reckon. Got back going green again. Zilisch pulled out to a decent lead over LeVar Scott. LeVar Scott actually managed to get to second place. Very impressive run by LeVar. And I'm telling you, don't sleep on LeVar Scott for this championship, man. Very impressed with his performance. However, unfortunately, the mighty 20 car was able to get back there, and he was able to get to second. But it was definitely clear that he was going to have a tough time passing the 28. Connor Zilisch was running the best laps he had run all day. And obviously, the best thing you can be in a race is be out front with that clean air. Unfortunately, it would get worse for Venturini in their other cars, with the 55 pulling off the 15 and the 25. So looking back at this crash, unfortunately, it looks like it was just another rookie mistake, unfortunately, by Tony Breidinger. She came up on Chris Wright, who was just barely outside of her with the front quarter panel. She came up off of turn 4, and her and Chris slam into the wall together. Another 2 Venturini cars torn up. Obviously, again, not on purpose by either driver. It was just a rookie mistake. You could probably even put that more on the spotter for not telling the 25 she was there. But yeah, long day for Venturini, man. You know, for as much success as Venturini has, and they have a lot of it, they had a tough Dover too. Venturini had a tough Dover as well. Even though they finished second with Gio, man, 25 and the 22 heavily damaged. The 15 had some decent damage, and the 55 had a transmission gear, some issue in that area. So don't think that these top teams still struggle. Hey, All Sports Podcast North, good to see you. Yes, you made it this time. But yeah, so that was one of the last kind of big crashes. The 15 was able to nurse it to the flag. Unfortunately, the 25 was done for the day. We had an 8-lap sprint to the flag to end the race. And while it looked like Gio was going to close in, the clean air was just too good for Connor Zilisch. And Connor Zilisch, man, I tell you, this kid's not even 18 years old. This kid's not even old enough to buy alcohol. He's got a Rolex. He is a 12 Hours of Sebring class champion. And now he's won at the Monster Mile. And I tell you, there is no bigger flex as a young driver to posting your Monster Mile, Miles the Monster Trophy with Miles wearing a Rolex. That is cool. So how about that? And yeah, like people are saying in the chat, they actually had to remove beer from Victory Lane. Chesapeake Diecast on Twitter had the video. He was there. He had the video. They were scrambling to get the beer out of Victory Lane because, oh, crap, we got an underage winner. We can't have beer in Victory Lane. But it's like, well, with all due respect, what was ARCA thinking? I mean, all the potential winners in the race were probably under 21. Yes. Oh, so I think the only guys who were over 21 in the field were, I think it was only like, what, Chris Wright, Andy J, Greg Van Els, Caleb Costner, Tinkle, Dennison, DL, Pampa, Maples, Club, Andretti, Balkan, Rose, and Bashan. I think we're the only guys who guys and gals over 20. And Breidinger, I think she's over 21. Yeah, she's over 21 as well. So it's like, I don't know. I guess they could have expected it, but that was kind of funny. So Connor Zilisch wins. The 2018 get another win in their East category. Gio Ruggiero was second. Carson Quaffle came back to finish third. I mean, I think had that race had another 10 to 15 laps, that 82 would have had something. I'm telling you, that car was fast. It's a miracle that the 82, despite how competitive it was, did not lead a lap. LeVar Scott was fourth. Andres Perez-Valar was fifth. So a good day for the Siegel entries. The owner standings. Chris Wright nursed it to sixth. Andy Jankowiak was seventh. Greg Van Els, despite not showing much speed, kind of ran mid-pack all day. He got an 8th place finish. Caleb Costner, he got 9th. Zachary Tinkle got a top 10. D.L. Wilson was 11th. Cody Dennison was 12th. Poor Ed Pampa crashed on the last lap, blew a tire, so he got 13th. Michael Maples, 14th, was the last car running. And then Tony Breidinger, Brent Cruz, William Sawalich, Alex Club, Marco Andretti, Amber Balkin, Christian Rose, Tanner Reif, Rita Goulet, and Mike Basham. Woo! That's a lot to say. Yeah, I thought the race was a lot of fun. I thought this was one of the best Dover Canon ARCA races in probably 5 to 10 years, mainly just due to car count. It was a lot of fun. I give the race a solid. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I think it deserves that rating. Yeah, sure, you had your moments with the 18 and the 20 car looking unbeatable. And yeah, those moments can take away, but you know, you had the crashes, you had the excitement, you had the comers and goers. You had the 82 car using the pit sign, and you just mix all that together. And you know what? After what we had in Talladega, we had the great race at Kern County with the West Series, and the ARCA main division made up for it. They made up for it from Talladega. They made up for it this race. This was a very, very fun race. Not that it's still not, 100% perfect, but I don't think any ARCA race is ever going to be 100% perfect. But still a very, very fun race overall. So we're going to check the point standings before we get into Kansas. The ARCA East Championship, we'll talk about that first. Like I said, guys, only an 8-race season. We're already part of the way through the season. I think we're already a fourth of the way. No, fourth or a sixth. I don't know. I think a fourth of the way through the season. Giovanni Ruggiero leads Connor Zilisch by just 3 points, but the important factor is William Sawalich, 15 points behind Gio. With how competitive that 20 car is going to be in the remaining East Series races, and more than likely the field's not going to be very big for tracks like Nashville and Flat Rock. Those races might not bring maybe close to 15 to maybe only 20 cars. So it's really going to be up to William in those combo races to really, really make points up. And with how evenly matched we've seen both the 20 and the 18B, I'm not sure, man. And I said this at the beginning of the year. I am not personally sure that William Sawalich will win this championship, especially after what we saw at Dover. And I told you, do not count out Connor Zilisch. And he is showing that right now, too. He is quickly adapting to these stock cars. And I think having him run for this East Championship is a great idea. The other East entries, Zachary Tinkle is 4th, D.L. Wilson is 5th, Cody Dennison is 6th, Michael Maples is 7th, Mike Basham, although I don't think he's full-time, is 8th, and Rita Goulet, the final full-time East driver, is 9th. As for the main series championship, which thankfully RacingReference.info has it updated, so shout out to them. The points championship coming out of Dover, really big blow for Christian Rose as he was leading the points. Andres Perez de Lara comes out of Dover with the points lead, 1 point ahead of Greg Van Alst in second. Christian Rose in third is minus 13. Amber Balkin in fourth is minus 18. Chris Wright is fifth, minus 25. LeVar Scott is in sixth, minus 27. Andy Jankowiak, he says he's only running 12 races, but he wants to run full time, so we'll still count him. He's 7th, minus 38. Tony Breidinger is 8th, minus 38. Alice Clubb is 9th, minus 48, and Caleb Costner is 10th, minus 49. Now, this is race 5 of the season, so drivers who have run all 5 races will get that big boost up in the points. We'll get that big 5-point boost. So that'll be good for them. But yeah, in terms of right now for the championship, I still think Chris Wright, unfortunately, is too far behind. 25 points is a lot in these main division races. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure if Chris Wright still has a shot at the championship. Same with Amber. I think, just with the way the ARCA fields work, I think if you're more than 15 points behind and you're not, top 5 every single week, it's just going to be hard to close. So I think we're kind of already down to a 3-horse race for the championship. Unless, guys like Wright and LeVar, can pull out some wins. Then they'll close. But for now, I think Andres, Van Alst, and Rose are our 3 best championship prospects. And coming into a race weekend like this, where the 2 and the 32 might have some more power, this is a very big opportunity weekend for Rose. Going to try to gain some points. So, yeah, that was Dover. It was a lot of fun. It was a fun race to talk about. A lot of shakeups in the championship. Now we move on to Kansas, and I am so excited to be back in the garage this weekend. As you guys know, I volunteer with Brad Smith. This will be my 5th year volunteering for Brad Smith. I started in 2020. I think we've done probably 15, 16 races together. It's been a lot of fun. This weekend, sorry guys, I'm a little under the weather, but trying to make it through here. We will be running this weekend. Looks like a solid entry list for Kansas. Not as big as last year's, but still solid nonetheless. And we're going to be going through the entry list car by car, so bear with me, guys. I'm going to read all this off. So starting off, we had the 2 of Andres Perez de Lara, of course, and the 6 of LeVar Scott. We have the 10 of Ryan Huff. Now, again, I figured Ryan Huff was going to run this race. Ryan Huff usually runs Kansas. He usually runs it in a combination effort with Hillenberg. It's easier for Andy, and honestly, it's probably easier for Ryan, too, just to run under someone else's number. That way, Andy gets the owner's points, and the 10, Ryan knows they're safe, barring any something weird happening. Cody Dennison, he was supposed to run for Peterson, but they have transitioned over to Hillenberg. Timcast.com will make their debut in ARCA, so that's cool to see that big company running with Cody Dennison in the 11. Ryan Roulette in the 12. Chris Wright, of course, in the 15. Marco Andretti in the 17. Tanner Gray returns to the 18 car. No sponsor listed on that car, just JGR, so I'm curious on what that car is going to look like. Jake Finch returns to the 20. Amber Balkan, of course, is in the 22. Tony Breidinger in the 25. Connor Mosack returns to the 28 for Pinnacle. Brayton Laster in the 31 for the Goulets. Christian Rose in the 32. Here's a random one. Lawless Allen in the 33. Yes, the Rayome entry is back. Now, Rayome's Toyota last year was sold to Mike Harmon, so this is a different ARCA car. So I love that. I love these random ARCA entries. How about that? Did not see that coming. So Lawless Allen will be running an ARCA car with Josh Rayome. 35 of Greg Van Elst, of course. 42 of Tanner Rives. So you got both Cook entries running. Brad Smith, of course, that's our team. Dean Thompson will be in the 55. And 2 Kimmel entries. Will Kimmel will be in the 68. And, of course, Scott Melton will be in the 69. Annie Jankowiak in the 73. Mandy Chick, her home track of Kansas Speedway, not shocker. She's back in the 74. Michael Maples in the 99. Then we got Alex Clubb in the 03. And Kevin Hinkle, another Kansas native, returns in the 06. 26 cars total, 2 less than last year. Some of the cars that were here last year that didn't show up this year, the 97, the 97 of Kitzmiller. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. Jason Kitzmiller was entered in for this race last year. He wasn't there. Who else was entered in last year? I think we had 2 Peterson cars last year. We only have 1 this year, so that's another one. Who else? I can't. Oh yeah, we have the Tricon. I forgot we have the Tricon garage entry with Taylor Gray entered in too. I forgot about that one. So, like I said, a couple of cars difference from last year to this year, but still, nonetheless, 26 cars, only 2 less from last year. Hey, I'll say this. It's still a step up from the 17 to 20 car fields we had only a couple years ago. I'm telling you guys, those 18 car races at Kansas, man, those were tough to watch sometimes. Not going to lie. Noted by their absence is the 93 of Costner Weaver Motorsports. That was supposed to be a full-time car. They are not on the entry list, and as far as we know, do not plan on being there. Now, all talks in the garage that everything was fine coming out of Dover. Both the 93 and the 39 had really good finishes. I think, like I said, the 93 got a 9th, and the 39 got 11th. So, really solid finishes for that organization. So, I wonder what happened. I really do wonder what the hell happened to that team. And I like the team. I like Caleb Costner. D.L. Wilson. Everyone likes D.L. Wilson. I like D.L. Wilson. He's a fun guy. And that sucks. At the end of the day, was the 93 going to go out there and win the race? No, but he had a shot for top 10 for sure. I think he had a shot at a top 10 for sure. And at the end of the day, losing an extra body, that sucks, man. That unfortunately sucks because we need more bodies on track. Even if they can't win, having more bodies on track just makes the race better. It just does. So that sucks for Costner. Hopefully that doesn't mean their whole season is now up in blows. We don't know for sure, but usually if they skip one race, unfortunately, it can lead to more. So, as far as my gigs for Brad Smith this weekend, I am not going over the wall, which I hate because I love going over the wall, but Brad needs a spotter. Brad needed a spotter, so I'll be returning to the spotter stand for the first time in 3 years. So that'll be cool. Let me tell you guys, there is nothing cooler than the spotter stand. That is such a unique view, and I'm so thankful to be able to do that kind of a gig, man. That spotter stand, you can see everything from up there. It is amazing. And it's amazing how, when you're so high up, how slow the cars look from that angle. It's weird how it works like that. But yeah, we return to the spotter stand. We are running the whole race. I do want to make that clear. We are not a start and park. We are not going to be start and parking the race. And looking through this entry list, I don't see any start and parks. The 06, whenever Kevin Hinkle runs Kansas, it's a full race deal. He doesn't pay to start and park. Brayton's full race. The 10, the 11, and the 12, the 99, they're full race. I hope the 68 of Will Kimmel's not a start and park. I hope not. He's the only one I could see being one, just because the 68 has done start and parks in the past. But I hope both of them run the whole distance. But nonetheless, it looks like almost every car in the field, pretty much. If not, every car in the field will be running the whole race. And that is definitely a thumbs up. That is a good sign. So, but I hope the 68 runs the whole race. I hope so. But if they don't, it wouldn't shock me. But I hope they do. It would be great to see the Kimmels again. I haven't seen them since my Salem Supercar race. So, yeah, solid field. And I'll tell you, very mixed field. You know, we do have the 5-hour test. It's just so weird, man. The Cup Series, 20 minutes. The ARCA Series, 5 hours. Let's give a 5-hour practice session to one of the smallest teams. I love it. I love that. I just love that aspect about this weekend. But yeah, testing for all these teams. So even for Jake Finch, who has never been to Kansas before, I think the 5-hour test session will definitely benefit him the best. But if I had to pick a winner for this race, I'm actually going to go with Dean Thompson. I'm going to go with Dean Thompson because if you guys remember last year's race, he was closing in on Jesse Love. Bumblebee 48, good to see you in the chat. But if you guys remember, Dean Thompson was closing in on Jesse Love for that win. He was. I think 2 or 3 more laps. I think the 15, because wasn't Dean driving he was driving the 15 or the 25 last year. Had Dean Thompson had maybe a couple more laps in that race last year, I think Dean would have won that race. I really do think Dean would have won that race last year. Jesse Love got lucky that race ended when it did. But so he's my pick. I think I don't think, we know he's going to be tough to beat, but I think his inexperience at Kansas is what's going to get to him. I know he's got the 5-hour test session to help him get plenty of laps. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. He'll probably run close to 100 laps in that practice session. It wouldn't shock me. And to give a dark horse pick, let's look at this entry list, man. To give a dark horse pick, I'm going to go, God, can I pick 2 or 3 dark horse picks? Let's see. I think I'm going to pick LeVar Scott, Mosak, or Jankowiak. Can I pick 3? I'm going to pick 3. So I think those are going to be my 3 dark horses. Hopefully for Jankowiak, he can just start the race. Last year, he had to withdraw due to literally blowing up in practice. Car caught on fire. But yeah, solid field overall. Looks like there's going to be no starting parks. Like I said, guys, you hear me mentioning 5-hour test. What? 5-hour practice session? Yes, this is one of the few races where ARCA gets a 5-hour practice session. Now, this test used to happen at Pocono. It was just never talked about. But ARCA used to have this 5-hour test at Pocono. It was transitioned to Kansas. I think that's a perfect idea. It's a much better track than Pocono for a lot of these rookies to get some experience on the bigger tracks before they go to the Daytona test. Yeah, so the 5-hour test is on Friday. Now, it is optional. Not every team has to compete in it. It is an optional test. So guys like Brad Smith, Alex Clubb, Peterson, they probably will not participate on tracks for something like that. And that will go from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Friday, and then race day starts on Saturday. And I will tell you guys, being at the racetrack at 6 a.m. sucks. I hate getting up at 4:30 in the morning for a racetrack. But at the end of the day, you hate it, but you love it. This is the stuff I live for, man. I absolutely love what I do. And I'm just, again, very thankful for the opportunities that I've been given by people like Timmy Hill, Brad Smith, Carl Long, Wayne Peterson, and anyone else who I'm forgetting to mention. But yeah, I got to get up at 4:30 a.m. on Saturday, and I'm probably not going to be getting home from Kansas because I'm going to stay for the truck race. I'm going to be staying for the truck race, not working with anyone. Timmy Hill's team, they got enough people now. They don't need any more volunteer help. But I'll be staying for the truck race nonetheless, just to watch. So I probably won't be getting home till close to 9 p.m. So you're looking at a 15-hour day at the racetrack for me. But it's the stuff I live for, man. If I could be at the racetrack 24/7, I would. So, but on Saturday, I said the remaining haulers enter, crew chief meeting, the driver walk. We have final practice at 9:25, and then right after that is qualifying. The cars are then impounded, and we start the race at 1. Tide 150. I would love to see what this trophy looks like, and I seriously mean this. The Tide 150 sponsors it. Can we just like get a giant jug of Tide and then put the logo on it, and that's your trophy? And instead of champagne, you get to like throw like liquid Tide on each other. That should be the celebration, because that sounds hilarious. I'm going to stay for Cup, but obviously that's the next day. No, the winner should not do the Tide Pod Challenge. Don't do that. Do not do the Tide Pod Challenge. Do not do the Tide Pod Challenge. Please do not do that. I didn't do it, but none of you are going to do it. Don't be that stupid. The purse money, of course, that we go over. First place is $10,000. Obviously, again, that's usual. With the bonuses, first place is actually $14,600. Second place is $9,075, and third is $58,50, I should say. With 26 cars in the field, last place is $1,400. No flow racing bonus. Like I said, live FS1 at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So tune into the race. It's going to be fun. Like I said, I don't know who's going to win. I don't think it's going to be dominant for the 18 and the 20. We've never usually seen amazing pace out of Tanner Gray. He's kind of always been the Taylor Gray. I mean, with all due respect to, Brian Kirk. Okay, we'll give you a shout out. But we've never really seen a lot of speed out of Tanner. We've always kind of seen more speed from Taylor. And will Jake Finch's inexperience hurt him? I don't know. That's what I said. I'm going with Dean Thompson as my win. I still think Venerini gets the win, but I think it's the 55 that goes to victory lane this week. So. Anyway, guys. Oh, God, I don't have much to say. Hopefully everybody will be glad to see me in the ARCA garage again. I haven't seen all my ARCA friends since Daytona, and it'll be just great to see them all again. So hopefully any of the ARCA people that are watching the show, if you see me in Daytona or see me at Kansas, shoot me a message or just come and say hi. Come and say hi. I'm not hard to find. Just look for the 6'4" molded redhead. I stick out like a sore thumb. I'm not hard to find in the garage. So, anyway, guys, have a good rest of your night. I really don't have much else to say. I think that's it. We've been here for 68 minutes. Wow, I talk a lot. But anyway, guys, it's been a fun podcast. Dover was a lot of fun. Talk about the point standings. Critical race for Christian Rose if he wants to catch back up. Doing return to the spotter span. Hopefully our weekend goes well. Hopefully Brad can finally build some luck for us. God, man, this has been a tough year. Really, really tough year for him. No real updates on the racing news yet. It's kind of in the figuring out stage, so I can't really give any updates on the racing career. But trust me, as soon as I get some, I will update y'all. But anyway, guys, like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell for notifications so I don't miss you guys once again. We go live for another podcast. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great weekend. And follow along on the Twitter account, man. We're going to be posting a lot of photos with myself, with the team, with hopefully other drivers. It's just going to be a lot of fun. So follow along on the channel, and we'll catch you all next. I don't think we're gonna be doing a backmarker battle show. I don't know what the future of that show is going to hold, but we'll see y'all next Tuesday for the Arc Menard Series podcast, Kansas review, and then preview, I believe, like Nashville, I think. So, anyway, guys, I give you guys the goodbye salute, and I'll catch you all next time. Colby Evans, starting park car, and I am signing off. Goodbye.